So in order for us to map this class right here, so this class student into our database using Spring Data JPA, we have to do the following. So here, what we're going to do is I want to annotate this class with @entity first, and you'll see why entity in a second. And then here, I also want to have the and then table. So this will be @table, and we need to specify a few things. For each entity that we have, we always must have an ID. So and then ID. And you can see that these annotations come from javax.persistence. So this is actually an interface. So if we want to basically change implementations, move away from Spring Data JPA and Hibernate, we can do it without changing anything. So here, don't choose the second one, choose the first one. And there we go. You can see that the error went away. So here we have the no arg constructor, and this is needed for this to work. So this is why we have this. And before, remember, I said that we could have used, for example, and then data, but we can't really do this because otherwise all of these fields will be immutable. So what I need is in here, all of these annotations to string, getter, setter, equals, and hash code, no arg constructor, and also all arg constructor if we need it. And to be honest, this is it. So one thing that I'm going to do is, in fact, I'm going to create another constructor. So here, I've just pressed Control Enter, and I'm going to have a constructor without an email, without an ID here. And this will be used for later, but basically the ID will be auto-generated. So what we need to do is say and then generated value. And basically inside we can actually pass a couple of things. So Command P, we can have the strategy here. So here for now, let me just say that this will be using auto strategy. And basically in my Spring Data JPA course, I cover all of this, but depending on the database, you might want to use, for example, sequence. And in fact, let's actually use the sequence. So here, the way that we're going to use the sequence is that we need the generator. So here, I want to say generator, and this will be, so student, and then underscore, and then sequence, and then comma in here. And now we need to define the actual generator. So say and then sequence, and then generator. And in here, we need to pass the name. So name, and this will be the exact same one here. So let me just pass that in there. And then we want to have the sequence name, and the sequence name will be student, or actually the same thing. And you'll see this in a second. And the allocation size will be 1, or actually 1 in here. So meaning that we will increment the sequence 1 by 1. And there we go. So basically this sequence generator here is the same as saying big serial, which is backed by a sequence. Now, what I'm going to do is restart the application. And there we go. And if I scroll up, what I want you to see is that we have this logging in here. So have a look. So this is interesting. So here we have student does not exist, skipping, and then dropping. These are the SQL statements. So basically, this is what we've done here. Remember, we said show and then SQL. So this is what it's doing. So here we say drop the sequence, and then here we actually create the sequence. So start 1, increment by 1, and then we have the create table. So email, varchar, and then gender. And the gender, this should actually be an enum. So we're going to change this in a second. And then here we have name and then primary key. And there we go. So let's quickly fix the gender quickly. So this will be, so in here, open up the student class, and then the gender. So we need to say at and then enumerated. And then we need to pass the enum type, and the enum type will be a string. Now let me refresh. And there we go. So if I scroll up, you can see that now the gender is a varchar. So this is much better. So this is really cool, right? So you can see that we have these statements. So basically this has created a table in our database by just adding in here. So this annotation right here at table, it takes the class name, it does a lowercase, so student, and then it creates a table in our database. So this is really awesome. And this entity right here, this is used for JPQL queries later. And there you have it. So let's quickly check our database. So here, if I basically press Control C, and again, I'm logged in, and remember before, so \Q, I'm just running the container to log in, and then say password. One thing that you'll see is that I've killed the container, but because we are persisting the data in here, so now check this out. If we say \C to Amigos code, you can see that the data is there. And now if I do \DT, you can see that we have the table student in here. And I can do select, and then star from, and then student, and nothing is in here. So this is working beautifully. Also, if I type \, and then D, and basically I want everything, and you can see that we have the sequence here as well, right? So this sequence right here, which if I do \D, and then student, this student right here has an ID, and the ID is backed by the sequence. And you'll see once we start adding data, you'll see that basically the sequence is just a number which auto increments by itself. So there you have it. This is working beautifully. If you have any questions, please do let me know. Otherwise, catch me in the next one.